Welcome to Policy RX with the Rock Doc. I'm Eric Murdoch coming to you from the doctor's office in Estes Park, Colorado. This episode is about government firing, so I couldn't think of a better guest than Bob Ratcliffe. Bob is a 40-year veteran of the federal government. He worked in leadership for the Bureau of Land Management and Recreation. He was the chief of recreation for the National Park Service, but he also has a background as an outdoor educator, a river ranger, and like me, he was a competition climber dad. So welcome to Policy RX, Bob.
All right. Thanks for having me, Eric. I'd like to be here. Thank you.
Let's get into it. So, Bob, I'm hearing a lot of stories, and we're hearing from a lot of folks and monitoring the government firings lately. We've heard that 1,000 National Park Service folks have been fired, 3,400 from the Forest Service, and several hundred from the BLM. What is the common thread between these firings, and what types of services should we be aware of that we're going to miss out on for our federal land management agencies?
Well, as you know, the natural resource agencies have actually been understaffed for a long time. So these reductions, and in some cases 10% of the workforce or more, have severe effects in visitor services, the ability to manage and protect resources, and keep our parks open, frankly. The people who were fired, that was the easy route for the St. Valentine's Day massacre. They were the people who were on probation. They are the new hires, some of the best and brightest people, actually, and people who are hired because they're in critical positions to replace people who are retiring, like myself and many of my colleagues who have also retired recently. So there's a combination of things going on. The reductions are in people who do a lot of the work in managing recreation, managing permit systems, allocation systems, visitor safety, everything from fire to accessibility. And so the challenges are significant for the agencies to do this work. There wasn't enough people. More people are visiting the parks than ever, even before COVID. And the demand is high. And as you know, outdoor recreation is popular, and it is actually quite bipartisan. So it's interesting to me that these people who are let go don't have recourse. There are court cases that are going to have to happen. There's a lot of things going to have to happen, but this is the tip of the iceberg. So the offer for retirement, the offer of resignation, that took a significant number of people who are already going to retire or who did not want to move back into the office or could not. And so it's a combination. So the numbers you're working with are just the beginning.
Right.
And then, as you know, there's going to be followed, as OMB said just the other day, that there's going to be followed by RIFs. And RIFs are more the pragmatic way of reduction in force. And so that's going to eliminate even more people. And it'll be people who don't, in their work, is not mandated by a congressional act and considered critical. So that's most of visitor services in a National Park Service. That's your interpreters, that's your visitor center managers, that's all of that. And then you add to that the compounding factor that some of these people manage volunteers. Well, now there's nobody to manage volunteers, so you're not going to have volunteer staff. So there's this sort of snowball effect, and the effects will be, you'll see them. You'll start seeing, more trash, toilets not cleaned, visitor centers not open, reduced hours of operation. And you'll also see reduction in response time for emergencies and fire and everything else. So it is interesting that already the administration sort of got pushback and they relented on allowing hiring of seasonal rangers. So they're bringing back actually more seasonal rangers than they had last year. They said they were going to cut 5,000 seasonals. They did. And now they're reoffering those positions and they're adding a few more. But why seasonals? Well, they're cheaper. They don't have to pay them health insurance. They don't pay them retirement benefits. And so, but they also don't work full time. So there's going to be this period of instability in the agencies. And then that'll be compounded by the removal of additional staff who are deemed unnecessary or not critical. And so you'll see this sort of compounding. And the one thing, the Park Service has that the other agencies don't have is that they're the most highly valued agency in the United States government. They have a approval rating of over 80%, and so they're up there with NASA. So, the things that, recently, my compliments to the folks in Yosemite for hanging an American flag upside down on El Cap. I think that kind of thing sort of raises the awareness of the impacts to our natural resources and to our parks.
So thanks for describing those cascading repercussions of what's going on. I find it interesting that we're seeing these firings. We're not hearing much about the hiring freeze, so we cannot replace a retired superintendent or a division chief to provide some direction. But these 7,000 workers, are they going to be as skilled? Are they going to be able to do the expert level jobs for the people that might have been fired?
Well, and maybe in some cases, but in most cases, no. I mean, these are people who have families and loans and mortgages, and they're professionals, right? They got master's degrees and extended education to do the work they do. And so that seasonals can fill in some of that work, but it's more of the baseline work and more of the entry level jobs. Now, there'll be a lot of people who have very, very, very highly qualified individuals who will be taking these seasonal jobs because they don't have any other option. But
okay,
but the kinds of things is the permitting processes, the planning processes. If you want a climbing management plan, that's not going to get done anytime soon. There's the things that are needed and necessary, but that are not immediate. Because when you're a park manager, not that I want to compare parks to Walmarts, but they have to open. They have an opening hour. They have bathrooms to clean. They have
right.
basic services they have to meet first. And so that means things like planning and new projects and trail maintenance and long-term maintenance. That stuff's not going to get done. And that's where the repercussions become layered and more significant over time.
Well, thanks for painting a really good picture about the services that might be lost. You were with the federal government for over 40 years. I used to work for the federal government. We both, I'm sure, have seen some waste, some inefficiency. If this isn't the right way, obviously the administration is claiming to be trying to increase efficiency. What's a better way to do it? How could they be going about providing better services and more efficient ways to do it?
Well, clearly, there's always opportunities for efficiency, and opportunities to find better ways of doing things. And the agencies have been doing that for years, contracting, finding services that can be done by the private sector, by the way, which all cost more money in the end than doing it themselves. But that's another topic for another show. But the real challenge is that it's a business, right? And so there's certain things that have to get done. And then there's certain things you plan for the future for strategic reasons. And so these are the things that then become problematic over time. And so it's permit systems and delays in processing your commercial use permit or your guiding permit, or being able to propose a new activity or a new business. This will have significant effect when people are waiting for hours to get into Yellowstone or Yosemite. And it'll affect the businesses and tourism businesses and the outdoor recreation economy in general.
Are you worried about young people, young, talented, smart people not moving into the government sector, specifically the public land agencies, because of this chaos, this uncertainty associated with this moment in time?
Yes, of course. I mean, it is first of all, it's a brain drain and a loss of talent. And then, but I'll have to share, 40 years ago, I was trying to get into the federal government as a seasonal ranger, and President Reagan came along, and he did the same thing, right? Reduction in force, eliminating positions, hiring freezes. Well, as a bit of a historian, if you look back, he reduced government, but by the time he left office, he actually grew it. So there's this rebound effect of realizing, we still have to manage all this stuff. So you asked about a smart way to do it. I also lived through the rifts of the Clinton administration, the only administration since I think Hoover, who actually reduced the size of government. And that was through a smart approach. They eliminated positions, things like clerk typists. We had computers. We didn't need typewriters. So they went through it in a way that really was more methodical and deliberate. And that's how the RIF process is really designed, is to look at functionality, productivity, and performance, and then evaluating individual jobs based on what they do and how well they do it. And so they actually reduced the size of government and the cost of government. And it was the last time there was no debt and balanced budget. So I just want to say there's a smart way and there's a dumb way. And I don't want to say anything, but if this isn't a business like a private business, and it's a public business. And so I do think people will be interested in public service because the value you get isn't in your paycheck. It's in having the knowledge that you're fulfilling a passion for yourself and a mission in an organization you believe in.
Well, thank you so much for shedding some light on a really complicated situation. Thanks for your 40 plus years of being a public servant. We ask all of our guests, what's going on in the next couple months? You got anything planned? You got any adventures or river trips or anything like that?
There's just one thing I'll leave you with. My grandfather told me there's one thing they're not making more of his land, but they sure are making more people. And so there's going to be more people outdoor recreating. And outdoor recreation is something that everybody, even no matter what side of the aisle you're on, red or blue, it's extremely popular and important. And for me, it's my lifestyle. So I'll be skiing this afternoon, and I'll be headed out on a river trip here this spring and this summer. And like the rest of you, I put in for permits and I get what I get. And if I have a good friend who invites me on a trip that they got a permit for, I'm lucky enough to go do that. So river trips, travel, outdoors, and maybe even get to Yosemite here this summer.
That sounds incredible. Wise words. Thanks so much for your insight. And to all the listeners, stay tuned. We're going to have more episodes. We're going to deal with tariffs, with some other issues with the administration, as well as talking to some pro-climbers and politicians in the upcoming months. So thanks so much to Bob for joining us. We always appreciate talking with subject matter experts and people with policy expertise. And take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.